Alright, this is Fullest House, first edition, where we are playing Vaettiheim. This is turn 18. I have a feeling we're going to see what happens when some wolf riders run into some heavy cavalry. So we don't get attacked. That's at least a plus. So he didn't preemptively attack one of our provinces. But yeah, if I was him, I would definitely be sending my units out to defend my own territory. Here's our assassination attempt. Just a regular commander, which is a mixed bag. It's good news, because we'll probably kill him. Yeah, so that works out for us. But that may have been recruited in the province, in which case the cavalry will have moved out. That said, anytime you can get leadership that doesn't require fort turns, that is really useful. So he may have been leading those cavalry. And then, yeah, here we have a Wolf Brother group. All right, no cavalry here. This is a pretty weak province defense type. Of course, all of this is being fought in the dark just because of events. It's kind of a wash. The humans aren't going to love it. We don't actually love it either. We have dark vision on the Bless, but of course that'll only help our sacreds. And these guys are cool, but they're not sacred. And so yeah, these are the Wolf Brothers, and they do pretty well, right? That looked like it was just 6 PD, again, against a weaker PD type. And we had like, what, 10, 12? Yeah, about 11 Wolf Brothers there. So that was one of our stronger rating groups. And maybe my fears were unfounded, although that was a wasteland, so, maybe he didn't feel the need to defend that. No defense here either. I mean, other than the province defense. There's a scout here, probably foreign recruited. That's cool. This is a scout province. This is a stronger PD type. The heavy cav, of course, we're going to struggle with a little bit, but yeah, we rout them off, and we don't love arrows. They were targeting our commander, which is always a little scary. But yeah, again, this is our Wolf Brothers, yeah, who are better. So stronger rating group, and that also works out. And let's see if we took, no losses. So that is nice. So maybe my fears were unfounded, which is often how these things go. This is, let's see, one of our Wolf Rider groups. So this is a weaker group. And it is against, about 6 PD. Bit of a stronger type. I mean, not crazy strong, especially in the late age here. You see like a lot of crossbows. And he's shooting at our commander again. Kind of scary. There's some risk there. The commanders, like the hearses, are decently well armored. Yeah, we bounce here. And so, yeah, you can see like the Wolf Riders, like not quite up to the task. But I think it was really more of a morale problem, because I think if they'd kept fighting, I think we would have won that out. We'd routed, some of the infantry. A little bit of stuff. So that one doesn't work. Hopefully we've opened a retreat route with some of our other raids. But, I definitely didn't think about, where I was raiding the stronger versus weaker groups. In fact, let's see, retreat details. Okay, so they did have a retreat route get opened. And the hearse survived. That's the main thing. Like the 4 Wolf Riders, we'll throw them into some group, but less relevant. And then we witness 2 of Marignon's battles. One against Independence. This is the throne. Probably no, not pinging. Okay, awesome. So yeah, I'd seen Marignon's god name before, the aristocrat. This is not really what I had in mind. So, I like that. That is cool. A little bit of misdirection there. And then we also have a prophet here. So I think this is the first time we're seeing Marignon's Bless. Unholy Weapons, Natural Protection 5. I think the natural protection is more for the god, for expansion, but it also won't hurt on his sacreds, who are just, humans in relatively heavy armor, but they don't really have any natural protection of their own, so that should stack pretty well with what he has and kind of play into one of their strengths. And then Unholy Weapons, I believe that is armor negating damage, but only against sacreds and possibly gods. So, kind of just like an anti-sacred build, but I think that's totally reasonable, because Marignon's sacreds, aren't amazing, but, like, that'll make them scary, right, against any scary thing that they have to go up against. So, like, yeah, a relatively light bless, but, solid bless. Actually, I don't know how expensive Unholy Weapons is, so I'll have to be careful. The Bakemono is really nice timing, because they have dark vision, right, so they're going to like this darkness. Of course, this throne has a bunch of blood and death mages who are going to make a bunch of skeletons, and the skeletons are actually going to like the darkness even better. That said, like with the god as well, there's enough other HP in play here, though, that it's possible that the army, if it routs, and these are just Bakemono, who have better than normal morale, I feel like. Okay, yeah, okay, they're getting a bonus from some spells, and so actually decent morale, but Bakemono aren't exactly known, for their courage. But there are a lot of them here, so I do think he's going to be able to run this over, although, yeah, that's a lot of dead coming out. That said, he brought quite a few priests here, or excuse me, I guess technically missionaries, but they are priest level 1, so they're able to do banishment, right? And they're on advance and cast spells. Very cool stuff. So yeah, this is going to be the second throne that Marignon picks up, and we're going to have to work hard, actually, to keep his dominion out of our territory, which we definitely want to do, because like I said, I'm pretty sure he took death scales to pay for all this. Really the main reason, again, maybe the unholy weapons is a little more expensive than I thought, and of course, like taking a Titan awake is not cheap. So yeah, and I guess the natural protection isn't that cheap either. You know, as we could see, relatively high paths on that chassis, but this is going to be a scary god to deal with, and you know, he's losing a bunch of Bakemono here, but they're pretty cheap, so you know, I would say that like this is really well done, and like yeah, the second throne that he's picking up. So very cool stuff from Marignon, not what I was expecting. And he's looking quite dangerous, so, you know, we'll be happy to have him on our side, hopefully. You know, we do have a non-aggression pact, relatively friendly. You know, having a powerful blood nation on your border is always, ooh, this is a lot of birds. Okay, so this is on top of Caelim's capital. And I believe the person who took over hosting duties also, you know, took over this sub position, and they're pretty good. So, yeah, he's just going in right away with the birds. We've got an anti-bird box, you know, with some caster support, a few of his sacreds. Mostly just Marignon's regular infantry, though, and the casters probably don't have a ton of research, right? Some bonds of fire coming out that's going to reduce their defense. I don't think anybody's going to like the dark here, neither the birds nor the humans, so don't think that's really going to favor anyone in particular. And, you know, let's turn on team-colored squares here as the bird box starts to collapse, which is definitely, you know, not what you want if you're up against the birds. Okay, so still not too bad. Like, yeah, still pretty good, in good shape. The back here is looking a little scary. I think a lot of birds are going down. The mammoths are a danger, and that is probably what the bonds are for. I was kind of wondering. I was like, I don't know about using, you know, bonds of fire and those kind of spells against the birds. Doesn't seem too useful, but I'm imagining that, I mean, it's certainly more useful if you manage to trap the mammoths, because the mammoths are definitely dangerous to human infantry, but there's not that many mammoths, and so, you know, once they trample in relatively deep, they get cut down pretty quickly, and it looks like most of the birds have routed. Just a little bit of bird caster to support some low-level evocation. Lightning bolt, you know, that's definitely a good choice, probably off script at this point. But it's just not going to be in sufficient numbers. So, yeah, and there you go. The overall route is triggered. So I think a good attempt at a defense, but like, yeah, a solid assault as well. You know, loses 22 swordsmen who probably, no, actually, they're just bog standard cost. And like otherwise not too relevant, losing one caster, but he's a really cheap caster, so, you know, this is not a big deal at all. On the defense, Caelim doesn't actually lose all that much, but this is probably most, if not all, of what they have. So, you know, they'll probably be able to mount a little bit of a defense inside their capital, especially because it's a citadel, and it's probably going to take this army at least 2 or maybe 3 turns to crack it. We'll see. Marignon may have some siege strength moving in to help speed that up. But yeah, I would say Caelim is, you know, probably done, and like, yeah, fairly substantial PD dump looks like. So yeah, Marignon doing pretty well. Now let's get back to our attack. So we have another raid. Let's see. Okay, yeah, this isn't really a raid, right? This is our main army moving out, and like, yeah, it's just up against province defense. Let's take a look here and see. So, you know, we're just trying to do some limited point buffing. We don't really have enough mages here, but yeah, we're getting some quickness, some moss body down. Unfortunately, like, the number of troops that we're gonna have is actually gonna kind of dilute our buffs, right? Because we really like moss body on top of protection, on top of quickness. It's really, really powerful. When it gets spread out, it's less powerful, but like still effective, and you know, it's going to be irrelevant here. So yeah, we definitely need more caster support for this before it gets like really scary. But yeah, we've got stuff too. Let's see if we lose. Yeah, we lose one wolf brother because they're pretty fast. I probably don't have the positioning, you know, just quite right so that everybody hits at the same time. Looks like the wolf brothers got in a little too quickly. And then we have another raid here. This is, I think, also a Wolf Brother group. So high hopes here. Yeah, it's stronger than, wow, average-ish PD type, but stronger than some of the PDs we've been going up against. They really like trying to snipe our commander. The darkness is probably helping us there. because, it's going to lower the precision of the archers. Normally, I feel like darkness is not actually a big deal for archers, but that's for like massed archers, shooting in an army for like just 6 crossbowmen or whatever, trying to shoot at, whoops, that was our army again. Trying to shoot at a commander, it matters a lot more. And we actually pick up a sight searcher here too. This is really nice. It definitely hurts. Definitely a reason I'm not sure it would help in this case because we're hitting a lot of provinces, but having your sight searchers set to retreat can help, prevent stuff like that in case, your Vaettiheim neighbor decides to knife you while you're doing your thing. Wolf brother, or no, I'm sorry, this is horse. I was about to say horse brother, but it is horse tribe. There actually are horse brother out there. They're tied to a specific site that's relatively rare. We do not have wolf brothers here. We have wolf riders, and horse tribe are kind of nasty, so there's a pretty good chance we bounce here. Horse brothers are even nastier, so we are very glad that it's not that. Okay, and this works out for us. I feel like that probably could have gone either way. We can see we took some damage, definitely. Bows are definitely dangerous for our more lightly armored wolf riders. Yeah, so we do lose one. But it works out for us. So overall, this has gone, relatively well. And this is our lone goad group, since the other fellow got patrolled out last turn. And wow, this guy's 70 years old. I didn't know that the goblins lived that long. So he's going to buff himself, just protection on his square, and then blessing. The blessing, of course, is not really going to help. Ooh, and we're up against heavy cavalry too. I don't think this is going to work. We'll see. Okay. So the bodyguards fail immediately. Let's see. So this is the guy that got the protection buff. I suspect his friend there did not get the protection buff. The bodyguards are very jittery, so they have a tendency to move out of the square. They don't always get the buffs. I'm not loving these groups. Probably wouldn't, do them again. Obviously, this one doesn't work out. This is, I think, slightly heavier than normal PD, maybe just 6. Definitely one of the stronger PD types that we've gone up against, and this doesn't really work out. It's not actually much cheaper than just trying to do this with Wolf Brothers. It's just trying something different. This definitely can work against minimal PD. But it's not working out for us here. So that's 5 out of 7, if I'm counting correctly. Not a bad result, considering how worried I was. We also had a successful assassination, which we'll see how helpful that was. Didn't find any magic sites, but can't really complain about that, considering some of our previous luck. The fertility cult, of course, is gaining strength. I don't know. We'll see. We're probably going to find out how bad a fertility cult really is this game. And then, some misfortune, but we don't care about that. So, I'll see you guys after the jump. All right. This is the situation and what we're doing about it. The main thing is he massed most of his heavy cavalry down here to retake this from the independents. I'm assuming the plan was to then go after this throne, because you certainly don't need all of this to take out some independents. And related to that, he also took out the other independents here with what was on top of this fort. Kind of surprised that, he didn't move out and respond. This kind of, I wonder, if he maybe just thought I was scouting, right? I've talked about how these goad groups haven't really worked out so well as raiders. Maybe he just looked at that and was like, okay, that's weird, but not really a raiding group. But it was not a successful one. Maybe that worked out for us. Otherwise, not really sure. Maybe he's confident that he can win anyway, right? He's like, well, I'll get some stuff raided away, but it's more important that I secure this throne first. I feel like, considering that we've launched the attack now, my expectation is he comes back to his capital, right? Because, we have a fairly substantial force here that we could jump on top of his capital with. But we'll see. People are unpredictable. This cavalry group did not move, so I think we got the commander, and we're just going to keep trying to assassinate. Obviously, this is risky. Like to have some gear on this Dimvetti, at least a little bit, to improve his odds of success. The more that he has to assassinate, the more likely that, one of these times doesn't go our way. On the other hand, this is about as ideal of a use case as you can get, so it's kind of you got to pull your weight here, Dimvetti. So he's just going to keep assassinating, and this group will not be able to move out unless he recruits leadership in some of these surrounding provinces and then moves it in, or until we fail an assassination attempt, because recruitment happens before assassination. So if he recruits a commander in this province, and then he gets assassinated, like, yeah, that we can keep that up for, well, as long as this Dinvetti can keep that up for, unless he moves other stuff in. So we'll see. Not launching a ton of attacks this turn, actually only 2 attacks. So we're going to take, we still actually have a goat group hanging out on top of this throne, so we're going to, throw him in, and he's just going to go for the back, and then we have a combined one of our Wolf Rider groups that failed happily retreated to another province that had a Wolf Rider group. So now we have an enlarged Wolf Rider group that we'll send against this province that we failed against. We could run into a PD dump, but I don't think so. And I don't think it's likely that anything from this stack is going to come over there. So high hopes for this. Just the way it shook out. Ideally, his neighbors down here still don't know that the attack is happening, which is good because that'll give us a little more time to grab some of these provinces. There's a good chance we lose out on them anyway, but we'll see. Obviously, if we succeed in this attack, then Ulm will be aware that we're attacking, and word will get around. There's a couple neighbors, well, I guess maybe just 2 neighbors actually that have seen the attacks, depending on, you never know where scouts are. And then the other attack that we're making is just, with our army essentially, and we're just going to take this province, and then we're just sneaking in our garbage and crossbowmen. Let's see, it's, these crossbowmen here, and then just some of our garbage. I was a little concerned that this group would be able to move back, but unless I've grossly miscalculated, especially because this cavalry doesn't have snow move, but also because they're trying to go through a forest, they're not actually going to be able to get back to this province. For a brief time, I thought I was losing my mind because his heavy cavalry was more or less split, between these 3 forts, other than this group. And I was wondering, how could he have moved his heavy cav? It didn't add up for his heavy cav to get down here, but they actually went north here, which I didn't realize at first because, it's only showing his city guard, but it's actually mostly his heavy cav that are here. So anyway, you got to be careful about those icons and dominions. I feel like there's a decent chance that this group took some losses against, those earth elementals. This is certainly a smaller scout report than we saw from what was sitting on top of this fort. Still, his heavy cav are dangerous, so there's a chance that it attacks us in either direction. So, we've done a bit of a PD dump here. It's a decent PD type, and we're going to have one of our Wolf Brother groups here move in. And so it'll participate in the fight as well if it happens. I think that'll be enough to stop that group. The other group is going to sneak into this forest to see if there's a PD dump happening. If he's going to make one this turn, we'll see the result of that. And then, of course, we have a decent amount of PD, kind of our crappy fort PD, unfortunately. But we're going to move in one of our cap onlys who's just going to, pump out some bugs, do a little bit of body ethereal. She also has a couple rock hurlers with her, which will help against the heavy cavalry, assuming they connect. So I think we should be able to stop any of his counter raids. Now, again, we aren't drawing in, some of these are nice provinces. This just has a lot of population, and this one has a hidden gold mine. But we're not drawing any income off of, any of these raids down here because, it's not, or this one either, because it's not connected to our territory. So, this is a really important province for us to take. And, there's an argument to be made for going immediately, but I just think, he just saw this Wolf Rider or Wolf Brother group. It's not that big. You could definitely stop that with a relatively modest province defense dump, and I also feel like it's a fairly obvious raid. Now, he may not have the money. I mean, we did knock out, while we're not gaining a lot of money, we definitely knocked out a good chunk of his money. This is also relatively valuable. Yeah, it's got some gem deposits. So this is another valuable province, which we actually are not gaining any income off of. So yeah, we didn't actually increase our income at all because this is also disconnected. Looks, kind of looks like it might connect here, but it does not. And this is actually Utgard's territory. For a brief moment, I'm like, ooh, got to jump on this. We can connect everything, but yeah, it's not. It was never Bogarus's, so we definitely don't want to do that. So anyway, it's not great, right, that we're not getting the income from these provinces, but we're at least knocking his income down, and then not next turn, but the following turn, we'll have quite a few just 2 Wolf Brother groups here that we'll send in, and we can also send in the cap only mage and her bodyguards. With, if she doesn't use up her nature gems, maybe we'll throw a couple more on her. Yeah, because of course there's no lab in this province because that was a mistake. I upgraded the wrong forts. Definitely feeling the pain of that decision. But anyway, she will move in to assist those Wolf Brother groups. Even if she runs out of gems, she'll be able to do some body ethereal spam on everybody, and I think that'll be enough to overcome any province defense dump. And at that point, whatever we still have, we'll draw income off of. So that's the focus for the raiding. I think what we're going to do, we're recruiting up a bunch more siege strength now. So we'll send that along with, probably most of our cap onlys to this province here next turn. And then, depending on how he reacts, we will probably attack this fort with everything from our stack. And that's why this is sneaking, right? Because, this is, 100 units roughly. And that's going to be 100 units that he's not aware of. So if he does, try to come take a fight here on this fort with his main force, hopefully, he'll get surprised. We'll probably also be able to pull in possibly like some wolf riders. Although, yeah, we'll probably need them for raiding duty. We are still going to be light on the mage support for that battle if it does happen. I'm hoping that he stays on top of his capital, right? Because we'll have made this move here, and so it's like, okay, well, it still kind of looks like maybe we're going to go for the capital, right? From this province, we can hit either fort. So does he split and try to defend both? The capital's usually more important. You get more money out of it. So like that's pretty critical, to keep that protected. So the hope is that, we're able to destroy this, stronger than average province defense more or less for free because, unsupported it won't do so well. And then once that is complete, we'll bring in, our giants for the siege strength as well as our cap only commanders who will provide a lot more mage support. And then, once we're on top of the fort, then there's a pretty good chance he sends everything he has at us. But in that case, I'm hoping, I don't know, we'll see. I feel like our research is going to stack up pretty well for this war, but I'm not 100% sure. So, that'll be a very pivotal battle, definitely. And then, of course, we'll see, like maybe he splits out and starts counter-raiding. Like, I'm not really sure. So, of course, all of it's subject to change depending on what our opponent does. But we're going to be trying to capture this fort as like our next major move. After that, it depends. If we force a major battle, we'll probably just go immediately, that we win, obviously. We'll go immediately for his capital. If, he stays at home and just lets us take this fort, we'll probably move to take this fort. But I don't know. We'll see. Maybe not, because at that point we'll have a bit more recruitment done. So, maybe try to combine with that on the capital. Like, I don't know. There's too many turns out. So, I don't really, no point speculating. And then I chickened out. I was going to send our stuff against Earth Elementals, but Earth Elementals are kind of nasty for us since, we're small and they squish us real nice. So I'm going to bring over one of our cap onlys. Let's see. Yeah, this Astral 2, which I really don't want to lose because that's a useful random for us and not incredibly rare, but rarer definitely. So, she won't be at as much risk to the Earth Elementals because I'm pretty sure these are just the size 4 ones. She is size 4, so they won't be able to trample her. And, she'll be able to add body ethereal to all this. And we are getting full mage recruitment this turn. Let's see, yeah, the mages that we want. We did alter research just ever so slightly, so we're still going for alteration 5, which, I was thinking about it. We don't really actually have anybody that can cast Mother Oak. Like, we have the gems to support it. We don't actually have the caster. Once our god arrives, then we'll be able to cast it, although I think we'll need some construction research. So, yeah, letting Mother Oak kind of influence that decision, not the best idea, because by the time we get everything rolling, like it won't really matter. But Wooden Warriors there are other useful spells for us at Alteration 5, so it's not the end of the world. I'm going to try to stay the course here. It also doesn't look like we need to rush for this, so we can see, Marignon sitting on top of the capital, but it doesn't really look like Pangea. Maybe they raided out in a direction we can't see. But otherwise, they're mostly still surrounded, by Kalian flags. I don't think Kalem, it looked like most of their stuff came home, but maybe they still have some bird groups active. It's not too relevant for us right now, luckily. There's a bird group way down here. But I think Marignon will be wrapping this up, relatively soon. Other than that, pushing around some site searchers. We are moving this scout out. we know Marignon has this throne now. So we're kind of curious to see this, Satis machine coming online that Lemuria is, trying to fearmonger about. And maybe try to get eyes on how Satis is doing against Lemuria. And I think probably the only other thing of note is, it's just kind of looking at flags, and it looks like Raga might be massive. I can't tell, right? Because this is Raga on our border where I first noticed them. But then, moving this scout around, it looks like Abyssia not dead. Their capital's not under siege. They actually have, a part of their cap circle. So Arco is still, either they attempted the finishing blow and failed, or they're, holding off until they feel ready. So, this isn't looking good for Abyssia, but it's also not completely over. I would like to get a scout on top of the capital, but we've already had one patrolled out, so we're going to hold off on that and just move into this throne, see if we can catch anything interesting. But, Raga is up here as well. And so, I don't know, it's how does this work? I don't know. Maybe they're massive, really stringy. So I'm probably going to reach out, to some players. I think, Kalem probably doesn't have great eyesight, but maybe Gath here, or possibly Arcocephali, Utgard also, and Ulm. Basically just kind of reach out to anybody who might have borders with Raga and try to get a sense of well, how big are they really? Maybe sound some alarm bells to people, because Raga has very powerful sacreds that can be super effective. So we may need some help. We certainly don't want them coming in trying to grab even more territory, and if they truly are that massive this quickly, that could be a big problem. So not super relevant for us yet, but something to note. So yeah, I think that covers turn 18. All right, time for Fullest House first edition, where we are playing Vaettiheim. This is turn 19. So we'll see how our opponent responds. All right, an assassin attempt on an alchemist. So that's interesting. That's one of his mages, which is unfortunate. Twist Fate, that's gonna hurt a little bit. Luckily, fire and earth, that could be dangerous. Depends on what the research is for Bogrus. Fire dart's not as dangerous, but still could be dangerous. That's good, we get a hit. We must have got 2 hits, because Twist Fate should block the first one. Twist Fate negated the damage. That's the advantage of dual wielding. And we got lucky there again. And then his morale breaks. So that was a dangerous assassination attempt, but it worked out for us, so that's good. And then we get attacked here in some woods, or at least just a province with that name. And this is where we have a bit of a PD dump, and one of our Wolf Rider groups hung out. So we'll see. This is a decent amount of his heavy cavalry. That's really the only thing here that we're worried about. But I think we have enough stuff here. Maybe not. Wow, yeah. These guys are kind of messing us up. I was hoping the crossbows would do better for us. We route the infantry. Bogrus's infantry, not too good. This does not bode well for our overall battle. We may need quite a bit of swarm support. So we lose that. That's unfortunate. There's a decent amount of gold that we dropped into that. We only kill one of his heavy cavalry, and of course, one of our Wolf Brother groups gets scattered. So that is rough. Clearly, should have PD dumped more there, or possibly had our other Wolf Brother group hang out. I mean, we've kind of talked about how the Wolf Brothers are not going to do great against his cavalry, and looks like he didn't bother PD dumping here, so we'll see. Hopefully we don't lose anything. We just lose one Wolf Brother. That's totally fine. They're going to be more useful for us in a raiding capacity, which we're we're going to need to do more raiding, definitely, but we're sort of, their most useful phase has kind of already passed. And then speaking of raiding, we have we failed on this province. This is maybe even a little bit more province defense than was here before. So we'll see how this goes. We have all Wolf Riders here, if I recall. No, right, it's the Wolf Rider group, the larger Wolf Rider group, with our Goad, who is going to be trying to attack rear. And I don't know, this is going to be close, definitely. I think it's going to work out for us. Goad maybe took too long. I don't think he really did too much for us there. Maybe got a few kills, but the hope was he would distract the crossbowmen. But since he buffed for 2 rounds, probably should have held and waited with the other group. But that does end up working out for us. So we lose 6 of the Wolf Riders. Again, the Wolf Riders are not so good, but there's a decent amount of PD that we knock out, so that is nice. And then we have some unexpected events. Probably not going to be good. Villains try to seize control of a province. And then, okay, we lose some province income. That's okay. I mean, it's not great. And then it looks like Satis gets attacked by independents. Ooh, a lot of barbarians, a classic. Looks like they maybe are ready. I think this is all province defense. A good amount of province defense, though. I think they'll win this? I don't know. Because barbarians actually don't do great, like, against numbers. But yeah, these lizard troops, like, especially the naked guys, I mean, I don't know. I think they might have, I don't know, both sides could have morale problems, right? Like, yeah, there's routes on both sides. Yeah, works out for Statist, so it's nicely done. I think that was, yeah, only province defense. Quite a bit of, province defense, but definitely warranted. Little touch and go. And then we get attacked by villains. We'll probably lose this. Wow, that's a lot of villains. Yeah, okay. This is not a place where we were raiding, so we'll see. Villains are pretty awful, so, like, it might look like we have absolutely no chance, but we have, like, yeah, our guys are fairly heavily armored. Unfortunately, our commander, like, moves up nice and close, but he has fairly heavy armor as well. The cavalry routes, that's unfortunate. Yeah, I don't think we're quite going to come away with this. But, I mean, it was not impossible. It was pretty unlikely, considering the numbers involved. Like, yeah, villains are pretty awful. So we are beaten, but wow. I guess there must have been a rout at the end, because, like, yeah, this doesn't really add up. Most of the villains die. There's just, like, 3 villains left, or I guess 3 villains and a leader. So that should be relatively easy for us to recapture. And then, yeah, we miss some site searching. It happens. And I'll see you guys after the jump. All right, this is the situation and what we're doing about it. We're kind of executing the plan that we discussed. We're going to go for this fort. I am pretty worried. I think, if he moves everything, especially if he moves all of his mages, and, he has any kind of research, like useful research to speak of in terms of like combat support, which from the one mage, I mean, it's really hard to tell. He only cast 2 spells, but they were all like really low level spells. So hopefully he's been like greedy and gone construction or something like that, but we'll see. Anyway, if he moves everything with the level of province defense here, which he may increase, probably not, right? Because it's already pretty strong, and like he's got to be hurting for money, I feel like, because we have, knocked away a lot of his provinces, although, he still has a capital, and then he has a farmland here and another fort, so, like, he's still getting money, and he's drawing money off this province, but I feel like probably most of that money is going into more heavy cavalry. Anyway, if he moves everything, and if this scout report is accurate, which I think it's a little on the inflated side, there might be 150 units here, but it's just a question of, like, okay, it is mainly heavy cavalry, so certainly he has a lot of heavy cavalry. And we saw, like, obviously the Wolf brothers do terribly against that. And, this is what we have, which is, like, I don't even think it's 150 units worth of stuff. And, of course, those 150 units are going to get supported by a significant amount of province defense, probably like another 50 units of province defense, potentially. So if you add in some useful mage support to that, I think we lose that battle, actually. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe he shouldn't be taking this fight, but, he doesn't know that we're going to go for this fort, right? Like, we could go for his capital. So I'm hoping that he hangs out 1 turn on his capital. He could obviously also, like, split. He could start to raid out. So, there's a lot of things we could do. Definitely in some ways, I think this is an obvious move, right? Because I'm not going to want to attack directly into this stack, probably. On the other hand, like, I am the aggressor. So it's like, okay, a lot of times, people just march right at the capital. I have an army sitting, next to his capital here. I don't know. This is what we have. I don't know this player well enough to, know that, okay, like, this is the obvious move for me to make, and so they're probably going to move to block it, so I'll do the not obvious thing and attack his capital. I just think, I'm probably fooling myself at that point. So we'll see. I think even if we do lose, we'll inflict a ton of losses, and it's not good. It's not what we want, but, there's a couple of things in our favor, right? So obviously our Wolf brothers stack up really poorly against those heavy cavalry. But if we look at it, right, they're like 12 pierce damage, right? And we're not really relying on the Wolf brothers for the damage component of this army, right? We're relying on our berserkers, who have 21 slash damage, so a lot more damage. They are berserkers +2, so this will be increased a little bit if they survive a hit. And I think there's a good chance that they'll survive hits because, they have a decent amount of armor themselves. Not great armor, but I don't think those heavy cavalry deal a ton of damage. Let's actually take a look. Obviously, the lance is going to deal a lot of damage, but we'll talk about our plans for their lances. Yeah, so 17 slash damage plus like the 13 hoof. These heavy cavalry are going to be scary, but definitely our berserkers can survive either one of those hits. Maybe 2 hits if they get some lucky rolls. So when they berserk, they're going to be dealing even more damage. And then, of course, our Rimvetti, we have no strength on the Bless, and there's definitely an argument to be made for... Actually, wait, do we have no strength on the Bless? Because, of course, yeah, it's not going to show in that screen. I don't think we do. Yeah, we don't. And like, yeah, I don't really know Vaettiheim well enough. I was trying to balance with later game, we're going to be getting like Neefel Jarls, and like strength on Neefel Jarls is kind of useless. Not useless, but it's not, yeah, it's not ideal. So, you know, I was trying to create a bless that would help both units. And I mean, we do have Blood Surge, which I believe gives us extra strength once we get a kill. And I do believe our Sacreds will be getting kills. So, you know, but since we're in Cold 3, their strength is increased. We're going to be dealing 18 magic damage against 18 protection. So it's going to be very, you know, chip damage, but should be relatively consistent chip damage versus like the Wolf Brothers. It's not in their favor, right? They at best deal chip damage. So our Sacreds are going to be dealing, you know, good damage to them. They also have really high protection. They even have higher protection than their heavy cavalry, also getting helped out, I believe, by this ice protection, right? So it's maximum cold right now. So our Rimvetti should, you know, do much better than the Wolf Brothers. The Berserkers are going to do much better than the Wolf Brothers. And of course, we have about like 75 crossbows. And crossbows are absolutely a way to deal with heavy cavalry, right? We have all of them set to fire at cavalry, and there's a good chance, you know, his cavalry is going to get out in front of the rest of his army. And then we're going to punch out some bugs. Now, we're trying to do some point buffing, which, I don't know, you know, maybe I should switch that. I'll have to think a little bit, because we really just don't have the mages to get, like, great coverage for an army this size. And I'm a little bit concerned that, like, some of our point buffs are going to end up, you know, on our crossbowmen. Our mages are, you know, positioned amongst the units that we want them to buff. But that's no guarantee with, you know, the way targeting works, and I don't have enough experience like with this point buffing to say for sure like where these point buffs are going to land. So there's definitely an argument to be made to just maximize our bug production. We've definitely brought enough nature gems to do that. And, you know, I've handed out nature gems even to people who are not currently scripted to cast any swarm, right? So everybody's set to advance and cast spells once they're done, you know, throwing point buffs up. So the hope is that, you know, we'll get a second wave of quite a few additional bugs. You know, we only have one bug caster right now. It's going to punch out, like I said, about 40 bugs. In 2 waves, and of course some of those are going to be flyers, so we're also hoping the flying bugs are going to disrupt, you know, the cavalry formation, and they're going to chew up those lances. And then of course we have just some of our garbage up front that's also going to chew up lances. Some of them are just our, you know, short bow archers who are not going to do great, but they might target the back line, right? In which case, if there are some mages supporting, we might snipe a couple, you know, dudes in robes. And then the Wolf Brothers are on hold and attack rear, right? So, you know, assuming that his cavalry gets mixed up, we might be able to sneak our Wolf Brothers, you know, back around to the back, you know, and deal some damage that way, since, again, obviously, they're not really going to help us out too much against the heavy cavalry. So we'll see. I'll think on this a little bit more. I might actually just switch everybody to making bugs, like, right out the gate, because I think that might actually be more useful for us, which is a little sad to me, because, you know, kind of the reason I went alteration is for the point buffs. And like, you know, Vaettiheim, size 1 nation, like point buffing is at its best, so it's a little sad that it's like, well, yeah, but swarm is still better. Once we get more mages, we definitely will, like, if I do switch to just doing swarm, we definitely will switch back to doing more point buffing. And to that end, right, we're bringing up quite a few of our cap onlys, I guess only 4 of them, with some more siege strength. And like, these guys will help a lot against the cavalry. You know, when these boulders hit, definitely going to be killing cavalry. And of course, like, these additional casters, you know, will help a lot with the point buffing. And like, we do have some other casters that are just so slow, they're not going to quite catch up. So like, if we don't fight the major battle this turn, this coming turn, I'll feel much better because we should be able to add, like, 2 mages here, another 4 mages that are moving up. And that said, these mages might not quite be able to reach this province with the siege strength. We do need to win this battle here. Which, let's see, I think we will, right? We have, you know, 2 Wolf Brother groups who are not going to do great. I mean, this heavy cav could go a lot of places, right? Like, he could pull this in, to help with a battle on here, which would not be good. He might want to try to recapture more territory. We're not really going to contest that. This is the Wolf Brother group that got beaten. We're just going to send it right back into this province because I'm hoping, again, like he can't spend his money everywhere, right? So there's a good chance he just puts like 1 PD in here, in which case I think those 6 Wolf Brothers will take it. If he puts 6 PD in there, then it probably won't work out, and certainly if he puts more than 6, it definitely won't work out, but there's a fair chance that raid works. If it doesn't, that's okay. But if this heavy cav, moves here to try to block us, we'll definitely take that out. We're going to be throwing out some bugs, of course, and then body ethereal, and we have a few of our rock throwers, and we also have a few of our berserkers here, along with, quite a few Wolf Brothers who, again, are not going to be great against the heavy cavalry, but, they'll help a lot against whatever province defense is here. We can see that, like, yeah, it's probably 6 PD, and this probably won't be increased, which this could also be important, too, for opening up a retreat route. Unfortunately, though, the rock throwing giants, they're not super fast. They're actually map move 14, and I was kind of losing my mind because, we can make this move, and it looks like it's going through this wasteland, and they definitely don't have the map move for that. It's like 5 to move out of the forest, 5 to move into the wasteland, 5 to move out of the wasteland. That's already more than 14, so it's like, how are they making this move? They're actually moving through this province here, which it's a mountain, but mountains don't actually hurt you for movement purposes, like through the province, unless you're trying to go through the mountain pass. So I don't think we're not going to actually be able to make the move through this forest here. Now, if he doesn't raid this province away from us this coming turn, then those rock throwers will actually be able to move through, through this province to join us on top of this fort. I think our commanders will be able to make the move, so we might actually have to drop off the rock throwers, which we definitely will do if we can't get them on top of this fort, assuming, of course, we haven't already fought the battle. And so, yeah, I mean, so we're going to have 4 mages here, like 2 mages here, another one of our cap-only mages that's going to be here, so we're talking an additional 7 mages, plus whatever random. They're not bringing too much in terms of troop support, especially if you have to abandon the rock throwers, so troop-wise, it's kind of what we have, but like 7 more mages for more bugs and more point buffing will definitely be good. The other thing too, of course, is that if he doesn't choose to fight here, we'll have eliminated the province defense, and that's pretty significant. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, it could go either way. Like I said, this is a risky move. I'm not thrilled that that I'm having to make such a risky move, right, in a war that, I chose and I got to time. I don't know, it didn't really have like the money I felt to build up the army to, greater than what it currently is. Obviously, we spent a lot of money on these raiding forces, right, and I haven't really, especially this early on, tried to do an attack like this where I do a lot of heavy raiding and then also try to attack with an army, and I think I maybe underestimated how expensive, how much of your money is going into the raiding forces. So this is maybe a bit premature, but we already have so many mages in motion. I don't know. It definitely feels wrong to try to sit back. I do think we have a good chance of winning. Absolutely. We're bringing a lot of mages to the table. Our research is in a pretty good place, and we're not really doing any troop recruitment. We're actually building a lab out here. I keep forgetting that our labs are cheaper in forests, so it's only 250 gold. But of course, it's always a little dicey. I feel like building infrastructure while you're at war. That's a little disrespectful, but we really do want to start popping out, mages from here. That'll probably be the last. I don't know. I do kind of want to upgrade this fort. If we win a major battle, definitely gonna be upgrading this fort. Getting it into a place where it can better support us. Because trying to drag really slow goblins from all the way back here is just absolutely brutal. But we definitely will be punching out more troops from our capital next turn. Probably just a stack of berserkers. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. So not much troop recruitment. We are recruiting another hearse. Sadly, we just need some. We need to get this province back from the villains, and we just need somebody to lead it. And I'd rather not use mages. We are just recruiting a little bit of garbage, and we'll probably recruit about this amount of garbage again. just so we can take out these villains and take that back, because this is a reasonably valuable province. So we want to retake that sooner rather than later. And the other thing too, like speaking of waste of money, we are of course going to assassinate again. That's not a waste of money. Well, I mean, we'll see. Hopefully we continue to get lucky there. But I went ahead and not like PD dumped really heavily, but like, I don't know, put a decent amount, right? Other places I'm just leaving one. He's recruiting some crossbowmen here, which like, sure, like Bogarus, they only get, I think, short bows. So like, getting some indie crossbowmen can definitely make sense. And yeah, we won't love crossbow fire as Vaettiheim. I don't think they're going to raid that well, though. So, I mean, there's Horse Tribe here, who I think will beat, roughly this amount of crossbowmen. And then, this PD type is maybe a little weaker, but, there's crossbowmen here as well. So we'll probably actually try to bump both of these up to like 15 next turn, which, yeah, we'll see. This is definitely possibly a waste of money because, the PD will not stop his heavy cavalry, even in relatively small numbers. So this makes sense, like, as long as we have his main army pinned, right, by our army's movements. But if we were to, say, like, lose a major engagement, then he would be able to split out some of his heavy cavalry, and like retaking these provinces would be relatively trivial, like even with this higher level of PD investment. So this is really only going to block the crossbowman raiding, hopefully, for a few turns. That said, like, these are fairly valuable provinces, so I don't know. Like I said, I'm going for it. We'll see how it goes. And then, of course, yeah, these raiders are going to try to go for this province, and then we're just pinging a scout off of his capital to see, like, if he patrols, right, that should give us a pretty good idea of, like, what his army is going to do, and like he'll probably come for us, the very next turn here, because especially like after this engagement, I feel like he's got to be feeling, somewhat confident, and especially too, because he doesn't know about, like, not half, but a good chunk of our stuff he hasn't actually seen yet. Now, if we don't fight a battle here, he will have seen it, so he'll know almost everything that we're going to be bringing, and this lake kind of acts as a scout for him, right? Because so he can see, like, okay, it doesn't border here, but at least anything we move into this fort, right, he's going to see that our cap only mages have moved into this fort because he has this lake. So if we fight this turn, we'll have a small surprise for him that may not be enough anyway, and after that, like, more or less all the cards will be on the table, probably also research wise. So yeah, I think that more or less covers it. I think, yeah, we're bringing one more mage up. We're just almost completely emptying out the capital. Like, yeah, this is the only mage that I'm leaving behind. we're throwing everything into this, more or less. I think most of these randoms, I think this one got an extra path maybe, but it's like split. No, she didn't even get an extra path. So, like, yeah, I don't think any of these are like particularly special. Like I said, we have our double astral over here, right? We are going after these earth elementals, and pretty similar thing, right? We just got like 14 of our berserkers, and we're just throw like all the buffs on them. Like, this point buffing I think is going to go a lot better. We're also going to throw a swarm in there just in case, because like I'm a little paranoid, and like this is probably just a waste of gems, but I definitely don't want to lose those mages. That would be sad, and we do want to take this province, and then that group will actually probably mostly start moving, towards the front. If we lose a battle, we'll probably just start moving towards our capital to help set up a defense. We might split one out for some site searching. Otherwise, nothing too interesting going on, in the wider world that we can see. We are pretty lasered in on Bogarus right now. We're probably just going to park this scout here for now, so we can see when Arco jumps on top of Abyssia, and that'll kind of indicate, like, okay, that war is reaching its final phase, although we do see, like, Bakemono just kind of scattered everywhere. And that kind of looks like retreats from a failed attack. So, possibly this war is going to take a bit longer. Still haven't really reached out about Raga just yet. I just haven't gone on it. We see Pangea moving here into the cap circle of Calum. I feel like, Marignon's not going to love that. And considering Pangea's position, would not surprise me in the slightest if Marignon, went after them next. And, the siege of Calum continues. It is a citadel, right? So it's going to take a second, but this is a good amount of units here. So this should be a good amount of siege strength. I imagine in a couple turns it'll be cracked. There is one bird raiding group down here, but there's various like recruits going on. Like it's only a matter of time before those birds are eliminated. Satis actually looking like decently big, so yeah, we're just cruising over. I don't actually know exactly where Lemuria is, so we're just gonna, like I said, try to find that conflict, and see how it's going. But Satis is actually looking, respectable at least. So yeah, I think that covers turn 19.